You believe the deepest cut of isolation comes from standing utterly alone in an empty room. But that is a merciful shadow compared to the true torment, sharing the same air, the same furniture, the same flickering light with a woman who has already quietly sentenced you to erasure, while she performs the last, mechanical ceremonies of coexistence. It is the crushing solitude of being systematically edited out of a story you still believed you co-starred in. This is not the explosive finale of slammed doors and shouted accusations. This is not even the dignified clarity of a declared ending. This is the slow, bloodless draining away of significance, the creeping dusk inside the soul where she begins, in private chambers of her mind, to unwrite you from her future, while her physical presence lingers like a ghost that has not yet realized it is dead. Her mouth may still shape your name in passing conversation. Her body may still occupy the same bed, and your own desperate hope keeps rattling the bars of a cage whose bird has long since flown. The real wound is not the moment she steps across the threshold forever. It is the endless, invisible march toward that threshold, paved with small gestures you misread as tenderness, when they are in truth the deliberate, measured hammer blows sealing the lid on what you once called yours. This is the quiet architecture of emotional annihilation. This is the secret choreography of detachment. And if you remain illiterate in its language, you will collaborate in your own slow degradation, pleading for heat from ashes that cooled long before you noticed the smoke had stopped rising. We are descending today into that shadowed interior landscape, not the polished, superficial counsel sold in bright thumbnails, but the raw, unforgiving terrain of a woman's gradual retreat. If you are prepared to trade the soft anesthesia of denial for the cold blade of recognition, if you are willing to map the hidden fractures beneath the surface of ordinary days, then mark your presence here. Subscribe, strike the bell, leave in the comments the name of the city where you sit watching this so we can trace the silent brotherhood of men who finally choose to look directly at what others avert their eyes from. Take a breath now. Steel yourself. We are about to watch a connection come apart thread by thread. The fatal error most men commit is treating a woman's growing remoteness as a puzzle to solve, a foul mood to brighten, a passing squall that can be endured with flowers, apologies, or displays of devotion. The truth is colder, more absolute. Her emotional and psychological withdrawal is not an opening bid in some prolonged negotiation. It is the quiet execution of a verdict reached in solitude. The trial took place without your knowledge. The gavel fell in silence. Every cue you interpret as an opportunity to reclaim her is merely another step in her private ritual of detachment, a ritual she performs partly to soothe her own conscience, to prove to herself that she offered every possible opening that you simply could not or would not see. Let us begin with the first and most merciless indicator. Picture a man, call him Elias. Elias notices that his partner, Lena, has grown eerily composed. The old arguments have vanished. No more sharp words about his late returns, no more tears over broken promises, no more passionate clashes about the shape their shared life should take. A serene stillness has settled over everything. He exhales in relief, convinced the turbulence has finally passed. At last, he tells himself, we've reached calm waters. She's learned to accept me as I am. We've matured together. This is the delusion. That stillness is not reconciliation, it is divestment. The arguments, the tears, the fierce disagreements, those were the audible proof of investment, the friction of a heart still struggling to carve out its rightful space within the relationship. When that friction disappears, it is not because harmony has been achieved. It is because the struggle has been abandoned. She is no longer debating with you. She is debating within herself, and the debate has ended. Her composure is the composure of someone conserving strength for departure, not for deeper union. The hidden reason is primal self-protection. To engage in conflict with you demands a belief that you are worth the expenditure of emotional capital, that your comprehension matters enough to fight for. When that belief expires, the conflict expires with it. What you are experiencing is not peace, but the glacial, indifferent distance of a spirit already folding its tents. This flows into the second marker, a subtle yet devastating act of psychological redirection. Men often mistake her sudden surge of personal growth, new pursuits, rigorous exercise regimens, ambitious career moves, as a healthy evolution that will strengthen the partnership. She's blossoming, he thinks, and will blossom together. The truth is far more solitary. That burst of independent vitality is frequently the crafting of an escape vessel. She is not adding rooms to the house you share. She is constructing an entirely separate craft capable of sailing alone. Every course she enrolls in, every new circle of friends she cultivates, every private milestone she chases with quiet intensity is another plank in the barrier separating the life that still contains you from the life that will not. The hidden motive is the reclamation of a self that was partially surrendered. When a woman senses, whether consciously or in the deeper currents of intuition, that the relationship has become unsustainable, she initiates a quiet retrieval of identity. This is not cruelty, it is survival. She is reassembling the fragments of who she was before the we consumed her, or forging the version of herself required for the aftermath. Her energy no longer pours into the common reservoir. It is being redirected into her own private well. You are not witnessing shared growth. You are witnessing growth that carries her further from shore. Now we confront the third betrayal, the one that masquerades as intimacy. A man hears her speak of her worries, her exhaustion, her private fears in a flat, almost clinical voice, and instinctively leans forward, ready to protect, to fix, to prove his worth. He offers solutions, reassurance, the full weight of his competence. The truth is more chilling. This disclosure is often a final unconscious test of emotional irrelevance. She is not opening a door for closeness. She is checking whether your response, or your failure to respond in the way her soul actually needs, will validate the narrative already forming inside her, that she stands alone. She has become her own mooring, and she reveals the burdens she carries, not in hope you will share the load, but to measure whether you even perceive its true contours. The hidden purpose is the last inventory of emotional usefulness. She is running a quiet diagnostic on the bond. Does this man truly hold space, or does he only dispense repairs? Does he see the woman, or merely the malfunction? By this point, the answer scarcely matters. The act of sharing has already shifted from invitation to archival transfer, moving her inner life from the shared vault to her private one. When she mentions being buried under work in the same tone she might use to note that it's raining, she is not requesting comfort. She is declaring the coordinates of a reality she is preparing to occupy without you. The fourth shift appears in the very texture of daily speech. Men often dismiss the transition from rich, playful, soul-bearing conversation to bare, functional exchanges as nothing more than the natural settling of long-term cohabitation. Where's the remote? Did you pick up milk? Your sister texted. The truth is far more ominous. This is the systematic stripping of soul from language. Words are the threads that weave a shared world. When those threads lose their color, their play, their hidden meanings, the shared world itself is unraveling. She is no longer addressing you as lover or partner. She is relaying data to an administrative contact. The hidden reason is the deliberate preservation of emotional distance. Intimate language forges chains, beautiful ones, but chains nonetheless. When the decision to break those chains has been made, even subconsciously, the forging stops. Every transactional phrase is a careful withdrawal from the joint emotional account, ensuring that when the final closure comes, there is no painful overdraft, no lingering claim. The poetry has been extinguished because the muse has departed. You are no longer the spark. You are merely a point on a map. The fifth indicator strikes at the very architecture of time. Men cling to the occasional reflexive, we should try that restaurant sometime as evidence that the future still includes them. The truth lies in the quiet, systematic excision of shared tomorrows. Notice not the rare, ghostly phrases that survive out of habit, but the active avoidance or cancellation of plans once excitedly discussed. That weekend getaway floated months ago never resurfaces. The festival tickets you both marked on the calendar are never purchased. Her speech anchors itself firmly in the immediate, the personal, the solitary I. I've got a packed few weeks coming up. My plans for next year? The hidden mechanism is neurological rewiring. The human brain literally sketches future landscapes with the people it expects to keep. When detachment begins, the brain undertakes the laborious task of erasing your silhouette from those sketches, of scrubbing you from next summer's horizon, from holiday tables years away, from the quiet imagined old age. Each shift from we to I in future tense statements is not mere selfishness, it is rehearsal. She is practicing the solo narration of her life, training her mind to walk forward without the echo of your footsteps. The sixth signal manifests in the geography of bodies. Men often misread lingering physical contact, habitual cuddling on the couch, absent-minded strokes of hair, as proof that attraction endures. The truth resides not in the presence of touch, but in its quality and context. When disengagement deepens, touch either becomes mechanical or fades entirely. More revealing is the subtle repositioning of her body in shared space. The slight angling away, not in hostility, but in neutral detachment. The invisible barriers created by pillows, laptops, or the deliberate choice of separate chairs. The hidden drive is the reassertion of bodily autonomy. Her physical self is no longer an extension of a coupled organism. It is reclaiming its status as sovereign territory. Any remaining contact is the fading reflex of old muscle memory, warmth without illumination, motion without meaning. Her failure to register your touch, not repulsion, but simple non-recognition, is the deepest wound. Your hand on her shoulder no longer transmits current. It is merely pressure on skin, devoid of the old electric significance. The seventh fortress is the glowing screen she guards. Men often spiral into jealousy, imagining secret correspondences with rivals. The reality is usually more ordinary and therefore more damning. It is not about who receives her messages. It is about who no longer does. The small constant offerings that once sustained intimacy, the funny observations, the shared memes, the fleeting thoughts narrated throughout the day, now vanish into private notes, group chats with friends, or simply remain unvoiced. The phone is not a gateway to another lover. It is a mirror turned inward, reflecting a world that has become entirely her own. The hidden purpose is the cultivation of complete emotional self-reliance. She is gradually weaning herself from the habit of including you in her inner weather. Each unshared laugh, each private screenshot saved only for herself, is preparation for the day when your absence will not register as deprivation. The eighth and perhaps most excruciating kindness is her newfound limitless patience. Men interpret the absence of complaints, the lack of correction about long-standing annoyances, as finally being granted peace. The truth is that this patience signals absolute indifference. When a woman is invested, she cares enough to sculpt, to nudge, to challenge, to attempt to shape the shared space, including the man within it. When that sculpting stops, it is not because perfection has been achieved. It is because you have ceased to occupy space that concerns her. Dirty coffee cups left on the counter no longer register as violations of her territory. They are mere artifacts in a place she is preparing to vacate. The hidden motive is the withdrawal of emotional investment from the commonwealth of us. Her caring is a finite resource, and she is calling it home. Even internal criticism requires some stake in your future behavior. When none remains, silence falls, not forgiveness, but irrelevance. The ninth and final signal is the most haunting, the look. Not anger, not tenderness, but a calm, almost scientific observation. You catch it in fleeting moments, across the dinner table, in the rearview mirror, while you are mid-sentence. It is the gaze of an anthropologist studying a culture she has decided to leave. There is no warmth, no judgment, only detached appraisal. Men dismiss it as imagination. The truth is that in those seconds, she is seeing you stripped of all the softening filters of shared history and future dreams. She is measuring the unvarnished reality of your presence against the vast, intimidating, yet ultimately liberating expanse of life without it. The hidden calculus is the last weighing of burdens against freedom. In that look, she completes the comparison and finds solitude lighter. And so you stand amid the wreckage of signs you were never taught to recognize. There is no rallying cry here to chase her, no strategy to reverse the irreversible. That would be an insult to the grave psychological labor you have just observed. What remains is an invitation to dignity. Her quiet ritual of erasure, brutal as it is, offers a merciless clarity, the precise outline of an ending you can finally stop trying to resurrect. The strongest move left to you is to acknowledge the funeral already in progress. Do not rage against the grave. Do not plead at the casket. Simply remove the mourning garments you have worn unknowingly for months. Rise, feel the cold that has been there all along, and step, with solemn respect for both her journey and your own endurance, out of the ruined cathedral of what once was, into the sharp, unfiltered light of what now must be. Your peace will not come from decoding her final cryptic farewells, but from lifting your eyes to a horizon you have not yet permitted yourself to claim, solitary and unbroken.